The wind howled as Sophia ran through the streets, her school backpack bouncing against her back with every step. Bursting through the door of their apartment, she skidded to a stop, dropping her back to the floor. Her father, Ryan, was on the phone, deep in conversation. "Dad! Dad!" Sophia exclaimed, trying to catch his attention. Ryan raised a hand, signaling her to be quiet while he continued talking. Sophia's excitement turned to impatience. She began pacing back and forth, her mind racing with anticipation. Ryan finally ended his call, but before he could even ask what was so urgent, Sophia blurted out, "Dad, Cindy's family has one more puppy left. Can we please bring it home?" "We've talked about this, Sophia," Ryan replied firmly. "We can't have pets in our rented apartment." Ryan was about to explain more, but his phone rang again. "But Dad, the puppy's so sweet and cute," Sophia pleaded, her eyes shimmering with hope. His voice rose in frustration, making Sophia flinch. "Not now, Sophia," he snapped. Hurt by her father's outburst, Sophia turned on her heels and retreated to her room, tears streaming down her face. She closed the door quietly behind her, trying to suppress her sobs. Ryan finished his call and with a heavy sigh, set his phone aside. He approached Sophia's door and paused, hearing her heartbroken cries from the other side. He knocked softly, trying to bridge the gap, but she remained silent. 2 weeks later, Ryan dropped Sophia off at school. Once she was out of sight, Ryan headed home, where boxes waited to be packed. That afternoon, Sophia hopped into Ryan's car, expecting the usual drive home. But today was different. Instead of turning onto their street, Ryan steered the car towards a different apartment building. "Where are we going?" Sophia asked, a puzzled look on her face. "This," Ryan said, pulling into the parking lot, "is our new apartment." Sophia was still processing the sudden change when a tiny bark echoed through the hallways. The front door of the new apartment swung open, revealing a playful puppy that bounded straight towards Sophia. Her eyes widened in shock and joy. Ryan smiled, kneeling beside her. "I'm sorry for screaming at you the other day, baby," he said softly. Sophia threw her arms around him, puppy sandwiched between them. "Thank you, Dad," she whispered. She named the half-breed Cooper. It had been 2 years since Sophia left for college. The small house seemed emptier without her energetic presence. The void she left behind seemed even larger to Cooper, the loyal dog. Every day he would lie down near the front door, eyes fixed on it, as if hoping that any moment Sophia would walk in, bringing the house back to life. Ryan tried to fill the void with small talk, often speaking to Cooper about the mundane details of his day, but the weight of his upcoming surgery made things feel heavier. He missed their runs, but age had caught up with both of them. Now they had to make do with gentle strolls, watching the world pass by at a slower pace. One particular morning, Ryan received a call from Sophia, her voice anxious. "Dad, my flight's been delayed. I don't know when I'll make it." She'd intended to be there for his surgery, to hold his hand and assure him that everything would be all right. "Don't worry about it, sweetheart," Ryan said, trying to hide the tremor in his voice. "Just focus on getting here safely." After the call ended, he sat down, taking a deep breath. The thought of going to the hospital alone was daunting. He glanced over at Cooper, who wagged his tail slowly, sensing Ryan's unease. On the day of the surgery, Ryan, with a heavy heart, prepared himself. He bent down to give Cooper a long hug, the dog's warmth providing a small comfort. "Take care of the house till I get back, okay?" he whispered into Cooper's ear. Jared had spent several years in the surgery department, facing the daily pain and challenges of his patients. Despite his best efforts to ease their pain, outcomes were often unpredictable. He treated everyone equally, whether wealthy or impoverished. Though Jared had numerous opportunities to work at upscale private clinics, he chose to remain at a modest city hospital. His old college buddy, Peter, often nudged him about it. "Why decline those offers? For a surgeon with your skills, those places would be perfect. At your current job, you're swamped with patients and constant challenges. Those private clinics offer cutting-edge equipment and a much better paycheck." Taking a deep breath and choosing his words carefully, Jared replied, This hospital is home to me. I began my journey here as an intern. I've grown and learned so much. At those high-end clinics, it feels like it's more about money than genuine care. Many doctors there won't lift a finger unless they're sure of a big paycheck." Peter would always respond with a puzzled frown. He couldn't understand Jared's dedication and selflessness, especially knowing that Jared regularly donated a chunk of his earnings to support orphanages and shelters for the homeless. To Jared, the welfare of orphans and the homeless was a cause he held dear. His passion for supporting them often drew puzzled looks from peers and friends. Some couldn't fathom how a man living on a tight budget, always stretching every dollar, could still find the heart to give to others. Whispers and unfounded rumors spread. A few even speculated that Jared was accepting bribes. But anyone who truly knew Jared, who had seen his unwavering integrity, recognized these allegations for what they were: baseless. Jared consistently turned down gifts and tokens of appreciation from thankful patients, no matter how insistent they might be. Jared's home was a sanctuary of love and shared values, thanks in large part to his supportive wife, Sally. She never complained about the absence of lavish gifts or fancy dining experiences. She understood Jared's sense of duty towards others. They had been married for 5 years and longed to become parents. After years of trying to conceive without success, they were on the brink of giving up when a miracle happened. Jared had even thought about adoption, but fate had its own plans and blessed him with the news of a coming baby. With Sally's pregnancy, Jared became even more attentive, treating her as if she were the most fragile thing in the world. "Relax, I'm tougher than you think," Sally would say. "Millions of women go through this all the time and come out just fine. Many even have more kids later on." But changing Jared's mind was no easy feat. He had insisted that Sally quit her job the moment they found out she was pregnant, not wanting to take any risks. Jared, now 35, was filled with the excitement of becoming a father. Gender didn't matter. He yearned for a child, their child, to make life's challenges and triumphs even more meaningful. The first few months of Sally's pregnancy were tough. Nausea, dizziness, and fatigue made her days a struggle. But by the 6th month, things took a turn for the better, and Sally felt a renewed sense of energy. When Jared came home these days, Sally greeted him with a radiant smile, but Jared's work schedule was anything but predictable. Some nights he would be late, his skills and dedication called upon to save another life. During those times, Sally would wait, glancing anxiously through the window and clutching her phone, hoping for a call to know that he was all right. That evening was another challenging one for Jared. He was scheduled to operate on a 65-year-old man, suffering from a stomach ulcer, further complicated by several underlying health conditions. Before delving into the intricacies of the surgery, he took a moment to call Sally. "I've whipped up your favorite tonight, beef with mushrooms and mashed potatoes," Sally mentioned, a tinge of sadness evident in her voice. "I'm really sorry, love," Jared responded, regret evident in his tone. "I promise, no matter how late, I'll savor every bite when I get back. Duty calls. Love you," he added before hanging up, weighed down by the constant struggle of balancing his personal and professional commitments. Recognizing the complexity of the impending operation, Jared ensured he had the most skilled assistants from his department by his side. He was optimistic about the outcome, backed by his track record of successful surgeries. Word around the hospital was that nurses considered working with Jared to be a lucky assignment, and many hoped to be rostered during his shifts. The patient, Ryan, was soon under anesthesia, and Jared began the delicate procedure. A palpable tension filled the operating room, and each move was a testament to Jared's skill and concentration. The surgery, while intricate, spanned almost 3 hours. By the end, Jared, though no stranger to marathon surgeries, felt a weight of exhaustion he hadn't felt in a while. But the real blow came post-surgery. Despite Jared's meticulous efforts, Ryan didn't wake up after the anesthesia wore off, slipping into a coma. Jared knew all too well the delicate dance between life and death such patients faced. The weight of this outcome would rest heavily on his shoulders. As he finished updating the patient's medical chart for the nursing team, Jared began to gather his things, eager to return home. The somber weather outside mirrored his emotions. The dark clouds overhead hinted at an imminent downpour, with the first few drops already starting to tap on the window pane. However, what caught Jared's attention wasn't the threatening sky, but the sight by the hospital's entrance. It wasn't the occasional flash of lightning that took him by surprise, but the imposing figure of a dog, bearing a resemblance to either a German shepherd or perhaps even a wolf, that sat faithfully by the entrance steps. Despite the looming rain, the canine seemed unfazed, its soulful eyes fixed on the hospital doors. Pondering aloud, Jared mused, "What brings it here in such weather?" A nurse walking by overheard and provided the answer. "Dr. Roach, that dog belongs to the patient you operated on, the one who slipped into a coma. It's been here since this morning. You must have missed it during the rush." Jared's gaze softened, admiration filling his eyes as he marveled at the dog's unwavering loyalty. How did it even find its way here? And how does it seem to know its owner is inside? Bond between them must be profound. There was something humbling about witnessing such dedication. In a world filled with uncertainties, the loyalty of this canine reminded Jared of the unbreakable bonds that exist between beings. The weather outside took a turn for the worse. Powerful gusts of wind made trees sway as if dancing to nature's wild tune. Raindrops, heavy and fat, began pelting the asphalt, sending up tiny sprays each time one burst upon contact. In stark contrast to this turmoil, the dog sat still outside the hospital, its loyalty unwavering despite the looming downpour. Jared, watching from the window, felt a tug at his heart. He thought, who knows when that dog's owner will wake up, if ever? How long will this faithful friend wait out in the cold and wet? Concern welled up in him. He'll be drenched and might catch a cold. If his owner is battling for life, who will care for him? Making up his mind, Jared braved the wind, stepping out to speak to the dog. "Hey there," he began gently, kneeling beside the dog. "How about you come home with me tonight? I promise you'll get a treat. My wife Sally, she's an amazing cook. Trust me, you won't be disappointed." The dog seemed to grasp every word. At the mention of food, its tail gave a little wag, and its ears stood alert, the picture of anticipation. "Do we have a deal?" Jared extended his hand, hoping the gesture would be understood. "Let's head to my place before the sky really opens up." The dog gave a soft woof, as if to say, "Lead the way." Smiling, Jared set off toward his home, the wind howling around him. The dog, now his companion for the evening, matched his pace step for step. Though they had just met, there was a sense of camaraderie between them. They walked together, two figures navigating the labyrinth of city streets. Jared hurried, hoping to escape the worst of the storm, and as if nature granted him a small reprieve, they made it just in time. The moment Jared unlocked his door and stepped in with the dog at his side, rain began pouring down in torrents, as though the skies themselves were releasing pent-up emotions. Sally's eyes widened in surprise as she saw the large dog next to her husband. She instinctively moved back a bit, her pregnant belly causing her to wobble just slightly. "It's okay, love," Jared began, trying to soothe her. "He's friendly, trust me. You know, I've always wanted a dog when I was a kid, but Mom's allergies made it impossible." Sally leaned forward, studying the dog. "He's quite majestic, isn't he? But what if someone's searching for him? We can't just keep him." "That's the thing," Jared sighed. "I performed surgery on his owner today. The man's in a coma now, and no one knows when or if he'll wake up." Curious, Sally approached the dog cautiously, spotting a shiny metal tag hidden in its fur. "There's a tag here. So your name's Cooper." The dog, Cooper, tilted his head slightly at the sound of his name, and then made a peculiar whining sound, circling on the spot. Jared, unsure of the dog's next move, placed himself between Cooper and Sally. "Easy, Cooper," Jared coaxed, patting the dog's head. "This is Sally, and let me tell you, her meatballs are legendary. You're in for a treat tonight." At the mention of food, Cooper's tail wagged energetically. The tension in the room melted away, replaced by amusement and wonder. Within minutes, Jared dished out dinner, giving Cooper a generous portion. The dog wolfed it down, clearly famished. Sally, chuckling, said, "Looks like he had quite the appetite." Cooper, looking satisfied, gave Jared's hand a gentle lick. a gesture of appreciation. Watching the scene, Sally couldn't help but think that this unexpected guest might just become a permanent member of their growing family. After dinner, Cooper, the large dog, claimed his spot by the front door, standing guard like a sentinel. Sally commented, "He is indeed a magnificent dog, but there's something peculiar about him. Those deep probing stares make me slightly nervous." Jared, trying to comfort her, replied, "Give it some time. He's in a new place, and hopefully his owner will recover soon. Despite the exhaustion, he still has fight left in him." While Jared, drained from the day's events, quickly drifted into sleep, Sally struggled to rest. Each time she got close to dozing off, she'd hear a soft click-clack of Cooper's nails against the floor. Glancing over, she'd find him watching her intently from a distance. It left her wondering, why is he so fixated on me? She attempted to shake off the unease and shifted to her other side, trying her best to brush off the dog's peculiar behavior. By morning, with Jared around, Cooper was as gentle as a lamb, showing no hint of his late-night antics. But the moment Jared was out of sight, the dog's focus returned to Sally. She murmured, "I'm not sure how to handle this, Cooper. It's a little unsettling." She knew Jared would take the dog to the hospital, but her concern was for the evening. Would this nightly ritual continue? Brushing aside her worries, she thought, "It'll be okay. He's just protective, maybe." As morning routines commenced, Jared suited up for another challenging day at work. After sharing a quick kiss with Sally, he stepped out. Cooper, sensing the familiar route, followed Jared but decided to stay put outside the hospital, much like the day before. As Jared swung open the hospital door, he almost collided with Rachel, the day shift nurse. "Ah, Mr. Roach, you're just in time. Guess what? Your coma patient, Mr. Harden, he's awake." Jared's heart leaped with joy. He had to resist the impulse to hug Rachel in his excitement. Without wasting another moment, he made his way swiftly to the ward where he had worked so diligently to save a life. Ryan Harden was a man with a rich past. Once a skilled Hydra engineer, he'd now settled into a peaceful retirement, though he occasionally indulged in freelance work, sketching out innovative designs for metal structures. As Jared recounted the tale of how Cooper had come to stay with him, a warm smile spread across Ryan's face. "Cooper followed me here? That sounds like him. Always sticking close. He's a unique mix, with some wolf in his lineage. He doesn't act like your typical dog. He's more reserved." Ryan chuckled, reminiscing. "When my daughter Sophia first wanted a pup, we were living in a no-pet apartment. I had to move just for Cooper. You haven't seen loyalty until you've seen Cooper in action," Ryan mused, reaching over to his bedside table. He retrieved a well-worn wallet and fished out a photograph, handing it over to Jared. It depicted a younger girl, all smiles, cradling a tiny pup in her arms. Jared's fingers trembled slightly as he held the picture. He felt a weight settle in his chest, making it hard to breathe. That's my Sally," he whispered inaudibly, almost in disbelief. "How is this possible?" Ryan's eyes widened, a look of shock mirroring Jared's. "That's Sophia, my daughter. Are you telling me she's your Sally?" The room was filled with a palpable tension as the two men tried to comprehend the strange connection that fate seemed to have woven for them. The photo showed a younger version of the woman Jared had come to know and love, but there was no mistaking those eyes, that smile. "That's my Sophia," Ryan whispered, his voice trembling. "But you know her as Sally?" Jared nodded, his head spinning. "Yes, Sally's my wife." Ryan's eyes welled up, and he took a deep breath, trying to keep his composure. Jared felt a lump in his throat. "She's had a good life with me, but why didn't she ever talk about you or her past?" The two men sat in silence, processing the unexpected twist of fate. The bond between them had suddenly changed, and both of them felt a strange mix of joy, sadness, and uncertainty about the future. The truth was harsher than anyone could have imagined. Many years earlier, Ryan and his wife Monica had been blessed with the birth of twin girls. Their hearts were overflowing with happiness. However, their joy was tragically short-lived. That particular day, a ferocious storm descended upon the city, resulting in widespread power outages that affected half the region. The maternity ward, which was thought to be on a separate, more reliable power line, was not spared. To everyone's shock, this backup line also failed. Once the power was restored and chaos in the ward had settled, a devastating realization dawned upon Ryan and Monica. One of their twin daughters was gone. Despite extensive searches and countless prayers, it was as if she had simply disappeared without a trace. While everyone suspected she had been kidnapped, there were no leads regarding the identity or motive of the kidnapper. However, after several painstaking years, a breakthrough came. Investigators zeroed in on a midwife who was found to have a mental disorder. Upon questioning, she confessed to the unthinkable. Driven by a twisted motive, she had abducted one of the twins, believing her act would lead the hospital's head doctor into trouble. She thought that the doctor would bear the blame for the child's disappearance. Upon her confession, the midwife recounted the chilling events that led to the kidnapping. In a fog of psychosis, she had driven aimlessly across state lines, clutching the tiny infant in her arms. It was only after some time that the weight of her actions bore down on her. Overwhelmed with fear and guilt, she chose a random house and gently placed the baby on its doorstep, hoping someone would find her and provide care. Despite extensive questioning and pressure from the prosecutors, the midwife was unable to recall or willingly share the location of the house or any details about where she had left the child. Her mental state made it challenging to discern truth from fiction. Ultimately, she was sent to a facility designed to care for individuals with severe mental health issues. The heartbreak for Ryan and Monica was unimaginable. With heavy hearts, they focused their energy on raising their remaining daughter, Sophia, trying their best to give her a normal life. Yet the shadow of their missing child loomed large, a void they could never truly fill. They held on to hope that one day they might be reunited with their lost daughter. As the years passed, the weight of not knowing the fate of their missing twin weighed heavily on Monica's heart. She sank into a deep depression, which took a significant toll on her health. As the days turned into weeks and weeks into months, the emotional strain began to fracture her relationship with Ryan. One evening, after a particularly quiet dinner, Monica finally voiced her doubts. "Ryan," she said, her voice trembling, Do you think there is something more to the midwife's actions? Something you're not telling me?" Ryan looked up, shocked by the accusation. "Monica, I'm in as much pain as you are. Why would you ever think I had anything to do with this?" Monica's eyes welled with tears. "I don't know. I just can't make sense of it. Why our baby? Why did she target us?" Ryan reached across the table, taking her hands in his. "I wish I knew," he whispered. "But believe me, I had nothing to do with it. We're in this together." Monica's accusations stemmed from her pain and desperation, but it only deepened the chasm between the two, adding another layer of pain to their already tragic situation. By the time Sophia reached 12, the strain had become too much for their marriage. Monica moved to another state, trying to find peace in a new environment. Despite the distance, Sophia made the difficult decision to stay with her father. Ryan carried no guilt, but he was heartbroken that Monica could ever believe he was at fault. More than anything, he yearned to uncover the truth. One evening, while tucking Sophia into bed, she looked into his eyes and said, "Dad, will Mommy come back soon?" Ryan sighed deeply, his eyes misting over. "I pray for it every day, sweetheart. I hope that one day we'll be together again." Sophia snuggled closer to him. "I just want you to know, Dad, that I love you so much." Every night, Ryan whispered a prayer, asking for guidance and a path to the truth about their lost family member. The midwife unknowingly chose Daniel and Melinda Burnham's home when she left the baby. The next morning, the Burnhams found a surprise on their doorstep, a child nestled in a blanket, a blessing they hadn't anticipated. Daniel Burnham opened his front door to fetch the newspaper. Instead, he found something he wasn't expecting. A tiny baby wrapped snugly in a soft blanket, resting quietly on their doorstep. Startled, he called out, "Melinda, come here quickly!" Melinda, hearing the urgency in her husband's voice, rushed to the door. Her eyes widened in shock as she saw the infant. "Oh my goodness, Daniel! Is that a baby?" Daniel nodded, gently lifting the child into his arms. "Someone left her here. What do we do?" Melinda reached out, touching the baby's cheek. "I don't know, but for now, let's bring her inside. She must be cold." As they settled the baby into the warmth of their home, the Burnhams couldn't fathom who would leave such a precious bundle at their door. For years, they had struggled with the heartache of not being able to have a child, so when they discovered the little baby girl on their doorstep, they felt it was fate and decided to adopt her. Jared's mind raced as he pieced things together. Every time Sally had shared stories from her childhood, she mentioned feeling like the odd one out. While family photos showed her parents with strikingly different features, Sally always stood out with her unique appearance. She'd often mentioned feeling a sense of not belonging, not because her parents treated her any differently, but simply because she couldn't see any physical resemblance to them. Recalling their past conversations, Jared remembered Sally saying, "You know, it's the little things, like looking in the mirror and trying to find traces of my parents in my reflection, but I never do." She had also shared tales of family gatherings where distant relatives would innocently comment on how different she looked from her parents. These remarks, though unintended, deepened her doubts and fueled her questions about her true heritage. Jared now felt a deeper empathy for Sally, understanding the identity struggles she had faced throughout her life. Growing up, Sally's questions weren't just spurred by her own observations and the comments of others. Her intuition nagged at her, prompting her to approach her parents on more than one occasion. "Mom, Dad, why don't I look like you?" she would often ask, gazing earnestly into their eyes. The Burnhams would exchange a glance, their faces wearing a mix of love and hesitation. "Sweetie," Melinda would say, drawing Sally into a gentle embrace, "you were a special gift to us, a blessing sent from the heavens." While their answers were filled with love, they were also tinged with evasion. The Burnhams had always agreed that they wouldn't reveal the truth about Sally's arrival to their doorstep. They believed that the knowledge of being abandoned, even if she was later embraced with love, might be too painful for Sally to bear. For the Burnhams, love and protection went hand in hand. They couldn't bear the thought of their precious daughter grappling with feelings of abandonment or unwantedness. They hoped their love would be enough to quell Sally's doubts and provide her with a sense of belonging. Jared felt like he was caught in a whirlwind of emotions and discoveries. Each piece of information felt like another puzzle piece falling into place, but the image he was forming was complex and filled with layers of pain, joy, and mystery. He paced back and forth, his mind racing. How could he possibly convey all this to his wife without causing her more distress? He felt the weight of responsibility, knowing that these revelations could reshape her understanding of her past and her relationship with her parents. Sitting down, he took a deep breath, trying to organize his thoughts. Should he tell her everything at once, or bit by bit? Would she be thankful for the clarity or resentful of the upheaval? Finally, he decided he needed to approach the topic gently, gauging her reactions along the way. After all, unveiling such deeply personal truth required sensitivity, understanding, and utmost care. On the morning Sophia was due to visit the hospital, Jared arrived early, carrying 2 matching bouquets of flowers. He set them on the stand beside Ryan's bed. He had requested Sally, his wife, to come by the hospital during her lunch break, keeping the reason a mystery. When Sophia stepped into the ward, Jared couldn't hide his shock. She was the spitting image of Sally. Offering a reassuring smile, he handed Sophia one of the bouquets. "I'm Jared, the surgeon taking care of your father," he introduced himself. Sophia's eyes wandered to the other bouquet, a hint of puzzlement crossing her face. "That's for my wife, Sally. She'll be here any minute," Jared explained. Just then, his phone buzzed with a call. "Honey, are you nearby? Come to room 7, he spoke into the receiver. Moments later, the door opened to reveal Sally. She halted in her tracks, staring in disbelief at Sophia, who was like a mirror reflection of herself. Shifting her gaze to Ryan, she saw the emotion in his eyes. Offering a weak smile, overwhelmed, she covered her face with her hands, trying to comprehend the uncanny resemblance. Sally, eyes filling with tears, whispered, "You look just like me." Ryan, watching from the bed, cleared his throat, drawing their attention. "I always hoped," he began, his voice cracking. that one day you'd find each other, and now here we are." Sally moved closer to Ryan, taking his hand, her other still covering her mouth in disbelief. "It's like finding a piece of a puzzle I didn't know was missing," she murmured. Sophia nodded, her own tears now evident. "A piece of my heart just clicked into place." Sally pieced everything together. Her long-held suspicions had been confirmed. Right in front of her stood the twin sister she never knew she had, and the father she had never met. Jared's eyes twinkled with joy as he faced Sophia. Extending his hand warmly, he declared, "You know, I never thought I'd be saying this out of the blue, but it's truly a pleasure to meet you, my sister-in-law." Sophia, caught between surprise and happiness, shook his hand responding, "And I never expected such a warm welcome from a brother-in-law I just met." The room filled with light-hearted laughter, easing the tension of the moment. Ryan's eyes welled up, watching the heartwarming reunion of his daughters. The sight of Sally and Sophia, two halves of a whole, embracing each other was deeply emotional. Sensing the need for privacy, Jared quietly and discreetly slipped out of the room. The weight of the moment wasn't lost on him. He knew that the newly reunited family had years of stories, tears, and laughter to share, and it was their moment to cherish. Outside, he leaned against the hallway wall, taking a deep breath, feeling a mixture of joy and relief. He stepped outside to find Cooper, the loyal dog who had been patiently waiting. As he neared the seasoned canine, who bore the marks of many years and adventures, he spoke with genuine affection. "You know, Cooper, you truly are an incredible dog." Meeting Cooper's deep, knowing eyes, he continued, "And I think we have one more important task ahead of us." Cooper wagged his tail in response, as if understanding every word. Sally decided to break the recent revelations to her adoptive parents. She approached the matter with utmost sensitivity, choosing her words carefully, ensuring they conveyed her gratitude and love for the life they had given her. "Mom, Dad," she began, holding their hands, "there's something I've recently discovered, something I never even dreamed of." As she unfolded the tale of her unexpected twin and biological father, their expressions shifted from shock to amazement. Her mother, with tears forming in her eyes, whispered, "All these years, and we never knew." Her father squeezed Sally's hand. "The universe surely has its ways, but remember, you are and always will be our little girl." Sally nodded, overwhelmed. "I know that. This doesn't change how much I love and cherish you both." 2 weeks later, with Ryan on the mend, the family, recently reunited, decided it was time to bridge another gap. "I can't believe this is happening," Sophia whispered to Sally. Sally exhaled slowly, her voice quivering. "My heart's racing." Ahead, a lone figure sat by the shore, her silver locks dancing in the sea breeze. Ryan, eyes moist with emotion, murmured, "There she is. Your mother, Monica." Each step they took towards her was heavy with anticipation. As they drew closer, Monica turned, recognition flooding her features. She stood up, almost hesitantly. "Ryan?" Her voice trembled. He nodded, a sea of memories reflecting in his gaze. Monica. The sight of the twins behind him was too much for her. Tears began to flow freely. "You found her?" she whispered. Sophia and Sally, overwhelmed, stepped forward. Sally's voice broke the silence. "Mom," Monica, voice choked with emotion, said, "every day I thought of you. I hoped, prayed to be reunited. The years, they just got away from me." Ryan, with tears threatening to spill, met Monica's eyes. Monica's gaze dropped, and she took a moment before speaking. "It was wrong of me. The guilt ate at me. Not just the guilt of leaving, but also abandoning you and Sophia. It was a chain of poor decisions, driven by pain and confusion. I thought that if I stayed away, it would be easier for you both to move on. I was wrong." Monica reached out, placing a trembling hand on Ryan's. "I can never make up for the years lost, or the pain I caused, but from the depths of my heart, I'm so sorry." Ryan looked at her, eyes filled with a mix of anger, sadness, and understanding. "It's a long journey ahead, Monica, a long journey of healing." A little distance away, Jared gently pushed a stroller, with a huge grin on his face. Cooper walked slowly beside him. Jared paused for a moment, bending down to ruffle Cooper's thick fur. The old dog let out a soft whimper of contentment, leaning into the touch. "You've seen it all, haven't you, buddy?" Jared murmured, his eyes misting over with emotion. "From the very beginning, through the stormy middle, and now as everything comes full circle." Cooper let out a soft bark, his tail giving a slow wag as he gazed at the family reuniting on the beach. Jared chuckled. "Yeah, it's quite a story. One for the ages." He glanced down at the stroller and then to the sunset, feeling a surge of hope and gratitude. "Thank you, Cooper," he whispered, giving the loyal dog one last affectionate pat. As the sun set, casting its golden hues across the horizon, Cooper sat down on the sand, watching the family. He may have been old and nearing his time, but he was content, knowing he played a part in bringing a fragmented family back together.